Luca's going to take us into Fatherhood, and there's a monster hunter in the Heights. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Welcome back to Off Screen, another week in which the cinemas are open, and aren't we glad? I mean, not that we've actually been to the cinema much, though.
I don't think I've been to a screening this week, actually. No, I went to my first actual press show this week. I went to In the Heights. It was my first proper multimedia screening, COVID secure one, and. Yeah, cool. I mean, it helps that the only friends that I hang out with all live alone and are all vaccinated. Social distance. So I feel relatively confident about that. But and obviously we get to talk about the movie as well finally this week. Sorry, I saw this on, was it Tuesday or Wednesday last week? Was it
Tuesday, I think.
And we obviously get to talk about this. It's actually out on Friday. We got an eclectic release schedule this week, haven't we?
We do. We really do. Both eclectic on the big new releases, but also on your movies on TV as well. So there's going to be something for everyone on this week's show. But let's kick off with something that probably isn't for everyone, or it's certainly not for you and me, Van. This is hilarious. The first film in our big new releases, which is coming out in the cinemas for your viewing displeasure, is Monster Hunter with Milla Jovovich. And I suppose it's the story of some monster roaming some sort of fantastical desert plains, and then there are essentially some not Navy SEALs, some paratroopers or something.
I think Marie's. Actually, I don't think it's ever specified. They're just army guys. They're just army guys.
Army guys led by Milla Jovovich. Who all wear makeup. The girls wear makeup whilst going out in the desert. I noticed that. I noticed the false eyelashes. It really annoyed me.
I'm sorry. Did you not have the pleasure of the Megan Fox movie where she was being hunted by the tiger and she was like the Delta Force commander with the most perfect lash and brow game going?
Oh my God, no! But just these movies I kind of stay away from. But let me get you to the bit where it all comes together. Again, it doesn't make sense. They suddenly, out of nowhere, get transported through time and space into what I can only describe as the other world in Beetlejuice, where it's got the sandworm. And that is basically it. And there is no other narrative to this movie other than them running away from a weird sand monster. It is awful.
Link, what'd you find?
It's definitely Bravo team. But the tracks end here.
What were Bravo team traveling in?
Up armored Humvee and a Mat B.
It's 10 tons of armored vehicle. They don't just disappear.
Boss.
We've got something.
Incoming. On your 12.
Where the hell did that come from?
Just came out of nowhere.
Bravo team reported a storm in their last transmission.
Hostiles using it for cover.
An ambush, like in Hellman?
But let's not find out.
I think in the mind of Paul W.S. Anderson, who incidentally, writer-director of this, gave us, Event Horizon, Mortal Kombat, the Resident Evil franchise. I think in his mind, this is Tremors meets Predator. It is based on a series of Konami video games, which usually means sort of 16-bit era. I'm not familiar with them myself. It is effectively plotless. And somehow, right, first of all, Milla Jovovich, again, writer-director's wife, for a long time, they made a few movies together now. She seems to get worse at an acting presence as she gets older. The other thing is, this apparently was a quote-unquote passion project for Paul W.S. Anderson, which is it's a passion project in the sense that Pain and Gain was a passion project for Michael Bay.
Hey.
That is a very strange one. This was your passion. This was the film you emotionally committed your career to. This was your baby.
I won't have bad words said against Pain and Gain, but this is in no comparison to that. I am baffled by this movie. It doesn't even have effects to balance out the terribleness of the lack of plot and narrative and general lack of understanding as to what's going on. I do not want to spend a lot of time talking about this because you clearly know.
There's not much to say.
There's not much to say. It's not out of... Mila Jovovich should have just stayed in The Fifth Element, made that her one-hit wonder, and then walked away. Like, that's all she needed to really do.
I mean, hats off to Miller. She does open a film like international. She can get bums on seats international. She does well. So I can see why she still gets the work. And the Resident Evil franchise, I don't think is inherently bad. It's got its charms. This is a career low for Paul W.S. Anderson, though. When you think about his Three Musketeers, when you think about Mortal Kombat, when you think about some of the films he's made, it's bewildering to me. Like, this is not the same guy who brought us Event Horizon and Soldier. It's a very lackluster, very thankless thing. It does feel like a cynical Chinese box office cash grab. Yeah. I would avoid this like the plague, even for the action completists, even if you're a Resident Evil fanatic. There is nothing here that's going to grip, involve, or in any way, I think, entertain you. It is, for my money, quite a waste of material.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's move swiftly on to something that I do think a lot of people will enjoy. This is Fatherhood, which is available on Netflix. I don't think we're seeing it on theatrical, are we? Just on Netflix.
No, I don't think so. It's made by Sony, but it's distributed by Netflix. So I think this one's just been a purchase job. I think they've just bought it.
Yeah, and it's basically, you described this to me actually off air really well. This is Kevin Hart in essentially a Jack and Sarah story. And it's about a man whose wife has a baby, and they're really excited, their first child. And she suffers, very sadly, a few days after her cesarean, an unexpected blood clot in her lung, which basically kills her. And he then has to deal with the overwhelming grief, but also the impending need to have to look after his newborn baby.
Sorry, but this is a group for new mothers.
You're lying. Because on that sign out there it says parents. I'm a parent and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't have nobody else to talk to about this. Speaking of the girl's got some stuff flying out of like a fire hose. I don't know if it's normal or not, but it's two different kinds. She can either hit you with a streamer, that's when it's all put together, and it's a little solid, and it's a direct hit, or she'll buckshot you. And that's that spray. It's a quick whop. I need help. I need the crying to stop. How do I make the crying stop?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's parts like that. I think the film on the whole is quite good. I think it's a bit uneven. I think the first half is infinitely better than the second. That clip, incidentally, is from the first half, and there's a lot of that humour derived from let's do Jack and Sarah with Kevin Hart, and it's a really good movie. The problem is, about halfway through, it jumps ahead in time to become Jersey Girl with Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody got time for that. Like, who cares? The Jack and Sarah movie's way, way better. And also seems to have more to say as regards the rest of it, which is quite perfunctory. But I sense that you...
It's really exemplary of it.
Exactly. It really sums it up. But I sense that you like this on the whole. I will say I was very moved by it. But were you as taken by this emotionally as I was?
I wasn't necessarily taken emotionally. I think when I think of a Kevin Hart movie, I'm not going to say it goes as far as slapstick, but it's very loud, out there, kind of Kevin Hart, you know.
God damn!
Yeah, and this
it's not damn, isn't it?
This is very low. This is much lower, and this is more from excuse the pun, from the heart. And this is kind of I liked it because it felt like it was a more not serious. It doesn't verge on serious, but it's a more sincere Kevin Hart, and I think that was really good and a clever move because who knows where he's going to go next, but this might be a good launch platform for him to do more serious stuff.
I mean, it's been about, 2-3 years since The Upside, that remake he did with Bryan Cranston of Intouchable, the French film, in which Bryan Cranston was in the wheelchair and he was the carer. I think Kevin Hart has demonstrated a few times that he is quite comfortable stepping out of the more traditional quote-unquote comedy zone, and that he has got the chops to pull it off.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see something like Kevin Hart turn up in a Jordan Peele movie or something like that. Seems like the kind of left field thing that sooner or later Kevin Hart will come out with.
Well, the more he does this kind of movie, the more it's not going to be such a big jump for him to make that move into something like from Jordan Peele, as you mentioned. So,
but there's a moment early on in this when we and he are told, as you know from the trailer and obviously our plot synopsis, of his wife's passing. And I will say, the guy can emote.
Yeah.
He can really emotionally devastate, because he got me in that moment. I'm not gonna deny he killed me in that scene.
Yeah, and it was a harrowing scene. It's like, for something to happen so early on in the movie as well, it's something you don't expect. But overall, very well acted, really nice new take on the Jack and Sarah format, and well executed from Kevin Hart, showing a more sincere side to him. Overall, I'd say, in terms of these two films, stay in, put on Netflix, give Fatherhood a watch.
Welcome back to Offscreen. And you know what, Ms. Perfect? I think for our next new release of the week, should we get a bit vacation flavour? Should we get a bit summery, I think? Because the weather's really nice outside. Looks like it's not going to have, any change anytime soon. The pair of us are both just dying from our respective hay fever afflictions. So let's start Mediterranean, I think, and then we'll get a bit more of a Latino flair, I think. Okay. So let's start with the Italian Riviera. Let's start with Luca, which is the new Disney Pixar movie. This is opening today in cinemas and I think it's just on Disney Plus. I don't think this one is even going Premiere Access. I think this is just Disney Plus from today, so you don't even have to pay the Premiere Access charge. And this is effectively The Little Merman, for lack of a better term. I was sat there the whole way through it doing the voice from Zoolander. Merman, pa, merman. Whole way through. and it stars Jacob Tremblay is our lead, who is Luca, and he's one of like a race of like sea monsters. So basically, like mermen, for lack of a better term. And basically the sort of curse that afflicts them is that when they step on land and they dry, when the water dries off of their body, they immediately look human. But if you even splash water on them, it reveals their true form. And Luca is sort of sheltered by his parents. He's voiced incidentally by Maya Rudolph and I think Jim Gaffigan. He does that rebellious thing where he makes a bad boy friend who happens to hang out on the mainland a lot. Said friend is played by Jack Dylan Grazer from Shazam. And he is literally doing the Shazam role. That is all he is doing. Like, he's doing nothing more than being the best friend in Shazam. Only difference is now, when he's got moisture on him, he looks like a sea monster. When he's in the sunshine and he's dry, he looks like a human. They hide out in an Italian village to basically take part in a local race and win the prize money so that they can purchase their dream Vespa so that they can explore the mainland together. This seafaring town, as well as fishermen, are also on the hunt, perpetually on the hunt forever, for the local sea monster, their version effectively of the Wendigo or Bigfoot or the Abominable Snowman or whoever. As you'll hear from this clip, in which they have befriended a human girl. She takes them home to meet her dad, who happens to be a fisherman, a gourmet seafood chef, and very capable of reenacting the entire kitchen scene from The Little Mermaid.
Hey, Papa! I brought some friends for dinner. Is there enough for 4?
Oh, what's wrong with you, stupid? What do you think he kills with those?
Anything that swims. Visto il giornale today.
Ugh, that photo's a fake, Papa. Everyone in Porto Rosso pretends to believe in sea monsters.
Well, look, two things I want to say about this. Judging by the poster, firstly, I'm annoyed that they've got actual sea legs and not like proper like little when you say merman, I don't imagine them to have legs underwater and a tail. That's not how.
Okay, merman was probably getting it wrong. I suppose salamander. I don't know, but
something like that. And secondly, more importantly, you could look at the poster of this and go, and the way they've drawn the facial expressions and stuff of the characters. This is for very, very young kids, which doesn't.
I would say that
transcend to adults.
If you showed this to an 8-year-old who had already seen The Little Mermaid, I think they would find it a bit money for old rope.
Yeah.
I did find myself, and I haven't seen The Little Mermaid in a few years, admittedly, but it is that cultural touchstone that it is. Maybe that is an age thing for us. But I found myself all the way through this thinking, I kind of wish I was watching The Little Mermaid again because that was more charming than this.
Well, even that, you're right that sequence that we've just played sounds very much.
Exactly. It's the scene with Sebastian in the kitchen when he's about to get... It's that exact scene. And you were probably picturing that scene when you were listening to the audio from this one. Yeah. It never quite overcomes that. Jack Dylan Grazer is, very likable in that exact same role from Shazam, and Jacob Tremblay as the lead. But it's got a very likable cast. It is very well done. And there are a few gags that do land, that do make you chuckle. It has a bit of charm. It sort of works. The problem is this feels very old. If you've never seen The Little Mermaid, or you want something to dazzle your much younger children, then I would say definitely hit this up. But beyond that, it's not an essential watch.
Okay.
I put it on par with Brave, if I'm being honest. It's about on. I liked this about as much as I like Brave.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting one because it doesn't look like when you think. I think the thing is the benchmark of Disney Pixar. You think you're going to get something mind blowing with it, and this is. It feels like they've just lent their name to it as opposed to actually really doing the hard work.
I see that, and to be honest with you, it does feel like this being on Disney Plus is less of a calculated risk and more a cutting of losses, if I'm being really honest.
Yeah, it feels like that. So let's move on. Let's stay with your Mediterranean heat, but bring that over to kind of Hell's Kitchens, or more importantly, over to Washington Heights, which is the location for the fictional location, but it's obviously in New York. For In the Heights, which is the Lin-Manuel Miranda adapted Broadway musical taken onto the big screen. Interestingly, bit of news is that it's actually flopped at the US box office.
Has it?
Despite being on streaming as well, it's not done very well, which has surprised a lot of people because all the critics have been raving about this. So, and it is a big musical number. So the story is essentially you're following a bodega or corner shop owner whose father comes from like the Dominican Republic and has lived this fantastical life.
Hang on, what was his name? Isn't it Uznavi? Because it's meant to be US Navy. He's Uznavi.
His father named him after US the ships, and he was like, "It's US Navy," so his name is Uznavi. Hilarious. And what it is the whole film is basically a depiction on what life is like in the Latino quarter of New York, albeit fictional in this, but it pulls upon all, not necessarily just stereotypes, but things that you might expect to find, and how the residents of an area like that overcome things like racism, general kind of, I suppose, problematic movements within their lives with everything that's outside of their inner little hub.
We gotta go, I wanna show you all I know. The sun is setting and the light is getting low. Maybe not the way to take a shot when the day is hot. I got a perfect shady spot a little ways away that ought to cool us down. Welcome back to town. And Uznavi would bring his radio. From senior studies, I see you rapping with your buddy. With the volume high, you walked on by.
I think this has got real energy. That's Corey Hawkins, by the way, there from Straight Outta Compton, who's sort of the best friend in this, and he does it very well. I did not have any clue whatsoever that Corey Hawkins has genuine song and dance charms. Now, he's not the breakout star of this, because being Lin-Manuel Miranda, he's obviously playing the sort of same tricks we do with Hamilton, which is he's quite good at finding you a breakout star. You look at the way that David Diggs from Hamilton, David? I think he's David Diggs.
Probably
and Anthony Ramos, who's the star of this, how they spun out of that. And I could absolutely see Melissa Barrera and Leslie Grace, who are the two female leads of this, break out in the same way. First of all, the energy is there. John M. Chu, who, of course, has something of a storied history in, working with concert movies. I think the Justin Bieber one was one of his. Of course, in recent times, we know him more now for like Crazy Rich Asians, which I think more of a crossover hit from him into more straight narrative rather than any kind of musical. But this is basically this sort of culmination of his career thus far. It's got move, it's got energy. I will say it does finally confirm once and for all that Lin-Manuel Miranda really has no interest in straying far from his very, very particular tempo and rhythm. Like, you know how this movie feels and sounds before you've heard a frame of it. And it's very good about it, but don't expect any surprises on that.
Yeah, exactly. And this was written whilst Lin-Manuel Miranda was at university. So this was brought onto the Broadway stage way before Hamilton. But you'll see whether the birthplace of the Hamilton tempo and sound came from. And it is this. And you know what? It's a big showy number. You know, you've got dancing in the street. You've got, you know, big dreams. It feels like I would actually prefer to see this on the stage than I do on the screen. I'd be interested in seeing it that way. But I still thought it was very good. Still thought it was very capable. I don't know why it's flopped. And I think everyone's quite baffled by that. Like, there was a lot of conversation over whether or not it's because it's cut half onto streaming as well. But even then, that should even boost it because it becomes so much more accessible. So it's a bit of an anomaly, I think.
I mean, to play devil's advocate on this one, I would ask, genuinely, despite if you take away the brand for a second, what actual product has Lin-Manuel Miranda got his name to? Like, actual, tangible, exists in the world product.
What do you mean?
What actually are his creations? Because he has basically contributed his personality to other things that have already existed. In terms of, you know, this actually being a proper... Because we've not had a Hamilton movie yet. It's never happened, effectively. No. We have the stage show, and we have what's basically a recording of that stage show on Disney+. We have had... He contributed songs to Moana. We had... He contributed songs to Mary Poppins. So we've had Lin-Manuel Miranda contributing as a Disney songwriter, but in terms of actually having the big Lin-Manuel Miranda project, this is about as close as we've gotten to that yet.
Yeah.
So he is still kind of an untested commodity.
Yeah, he does.
Of course he does, yeah.
Yeah, little cameos. Like right at the beginning, he's like pushing his stool along and he's like, all right. And that's it. It's quite nice to see it. The only thing I think that will put people off is it's 2 hours, 22 minutes. You know, and that's a long run time without an interval. So it's, you know, if you're not caught up in the music, maybe if you don't know the music, because obviously here in the UK, In the Heights is not played out in the theatres yet. It's on Broadway. So we are not as, you know, as au fait with this. So therefore, will we be as in love with it as you would have expected an American audience to be? I don't know. But it's a well-equipped, really interesting movie. Great catchy songs and dances, great acting, and probably is still worth your time.
Welcome back to Off Screen, and we're going to keep you on your couch for the next segment as we take you through all the filmic offerings on Freeview for the next 7 days. We're going to start, of course, with A Wondrous Woman on Saturday night on ITV at, I want to say 7:45, which seems like kind of like the perfect kind of tea time slot.
Well, I don't really come on to TV until about 8, so you're talking about me being Wonder Woman, right?
Of course. Are you actually on at 8 o'clock on like when you do QVC ones?
No, I'm not. I'm joking. Oh, actually, no. This week I'm joking. Yeah, but
fair enough.
I wanted to. I suppose I just wanted to get a little joke in there. Forgive me.
No, that's fair enough. But anyway, so Wonder Woman is now kind of obviously less of a standalone thing now because it's 6 months since we had Wonder Woman 1984, isn't it now?
Yeah.
So, of course, this is 2017's Wonder Woman solo movie, directed by Patty Jenkins, written by Christina Hodson, I believe, and of course starring Gal Gadot. And this is the World War I superhero movie. I think it's the only one of these that seems to take place in World War I. Everyone else usually picks World War II. It's the story of Diana, Princess of the Amazons, as she happens upon Steve Trevor, the downed US Air Force pilot, and joins him on a mission to man's world to slay the god of war, Ares, as she puts it. Of course, there's slightly more to it than that. There's the fish out of water element to it. There's a naivete. You like this one, don't you?
I did, and I like this more than the second one, obviously. I think this is the one that really made the impact. Brought us Gal Gadot as your Wonder Woman. She was perfect casting for this. It had all the effects, everything that kind of gets your heart going. The feminism of it as well was brilliant. And it just, you know, this is the movie that I think a lot of women were waiting from DC. So it's it's a really good watch. So if you haven't caught it before, definitely catch it. ITV or 7:45 on Saturday.
Absolutely. So on to Sunday then, from Wondrous Woman to ass-kicking regular man. Let's talk then, because I asked you to pick the movies, and I was surprised that you came back with this one, Bex. So Paramount.
I thought I should at least put in one that you wanted. And I thought, well, I'll give you this.
With Paramount, 9 p.m. Sunday night, you have gone with Kickboxer. Now, I've not actually seen Kickboxer in a long, long time. And I mean, since I was like 9-10 years old is the last time I saw Kickboxer. And it's not the only movie that we've got that with this week either. Are you a fan of Kickboxer by chance?
I've never seen it. I just thought this was one you wanted to talk about.
Oh no, this is like template defining for Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's very much a boilerplate of the era action movie with all the cliches and all the come on moments that you would come to expect of, the pretty arguably the first Van Damme vehicle. I think he had been in other things, but this is sort of the first name above the poster breakout hit. On that, sticking with the 80s though, Monday, Film 4 at 6:45, we've got the period piece of the Transformers universe. You picked Bumblebee for us, Bex.
I love Bumblebee. This was the closest thing that I think to the original reboot of Transformers, the original film, that it came in terms of balancing the humour and making it feel really nostalgic. And it stars Haley Steinfeld, I think. Steinfeld, yeah. And basically, it's about Bumblebee in 1987. He's on the run, and he basically finds refuge in a junkyard in a small California beach town. And then Charlie Watson, played by Haley Steinfeld, is someone who is just basically finds Bumblebee and adopts him, essentially. And it's lovely.
Get out and move away from the vehicle.
Stay cool, B.
What's going on?
Hey! Come on! Stop it! Let go of me!
Weapons now! Take it down!
Run!
No, don't run! Do not run! She ran.
John Cena there as the requisite US government soldier type, hunting them down. They've always got to have that Peter Coyote from E.T. character, and he does get my favourite line of the entire Transformers franchise, though, which is, they're called Decepticons. How do you not think they're evil? Which is absolutely one of my favourite things. I will say, as far as what you were saying, like this for me, this is the closest we've ever gotten to properly capturing the magic of 1980s animated Transformers in live action form.
And don't get me wrong, I do think that I do think the reboot of Transformers, the first reboot film, did that really well. But this makes me feel like this is kind of on par as a little spin-off, which works really nicely. So yeah, Bumblebee is a great movie. Interesting that it's on a Monday night, but hey, look, take it. Press recording it, because I think it's more of a weekend kind of film, but it's on Film 4 at 6:45. Now, ramp it up a gear for Tuesday, because one of my favourite action trilogies of all time has its middle sibling in there. It's London Has Fallen on 5 at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. I watched this recently. I mean, I was going back through it to educate my husband on these movies and how brilliant they are, brilliantly bad. And this is the part where Mike Banning, who's survived when the White House basically fell to the ground due to terrorists, is back, and he's on a trip to London because a president has died. And the reason why the president has died is because something else is kicking off.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's the British Prime Minister is assassinated as a ruse to get all the world leaders into. And the reason I bring this up. No, hang on. But the reason I bring this up is because this is pre-trailer setup. This is pre-concept setup. Is the world leaders they set up are all deliberately sort of pointed gags about the actual real world equivalents. So you wind up with, for instance, the Italian Prime Minister, who's this sleazy Berlusconi type, who's like, Westminster Abbey copping off. Yeah, he's copping off with some 20-year-old of Westminster Abbey.
It's so so funny.
You've got the Canadian one is very polite and listens to
Yeah.
his wife.
The French one just doesn't care. He's on a boat on the Thames reading his newspaper.
The Japanese one is really, really organised. You're like, wow, they thought this one through. Although I remember the press show, there is a line, an offhand line of dialogue, not the one that everyone refers to, which is most of London's known landmarks have been destroyed, which begs the question of what about the unknowns, obviously. But the line that absolutely killed in the press show for this was after the sort of inciting incident with all those world leaders, the replacement prime minister gets mentioned once, the sort of fill-in, the deputy PM, and it's Deputy Prime Minister Clarkson has stepped in to fill the void. And that room just descended into hysteria. The idea of Deputy Prime Minister Clarkson. I don't know, we presume all were just thinking about Jeremy, but it's a dumb, fun actioner, isn't it?
It's great.
It's the movie in which a Scotsman goes to Bulgaria to pretend to be in England playing an American. That's how good London Has Fallen is.
Oh my God. Make more. Don't stop at Angel Has Fallen.
They're making another trilogy, aren't they?
Huh?
There's another trilogy coming, isn't there?
Oh my God, you've just made my day. Amazing.
Oh no, they've said like it's doing so well that they're just going to do a whole other trilogy. Presumably he has to be the president by the end of this now.
Surely. Like, it'd be silly to not. Like, Mike Banning is invincible in this. It's incredible. Right, moving on to Wednesday. This is a movie that we watched a couple of years ago. It's on Film 4 at 9 o'clock. It's called Bad Times at the El Royale. And this is a movie that actually came out of nowhere when we went to watch it, because we didn't know what we were expecting. It's set in the early 70s. You've got 4 strangers who check into the El Royale Hotel. It's completely deserted, but apart from one desk clerk. And then what you find out is like the backstories for all of the guests and the weird reasons why they're at the hotel, because a lot of them aren't who they expect to be.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Because this comes from Drew Goddard, who'd previously given us Cabin in the Woods, obviously. Yeah. So there's a certain expectation that comes. If you've made Cabin in the Woods, you got to come back really swinging after that one. So, of course, going back with something like... And that's it. It's a very slick, very cool movie. I do need to watch it again. I don't remember it all too well, because I don't think I saw it at the press show, and I don't think I reviewed it for a week of release. I caught it on DVD after the fact, and didn't really get to pay that much attention to it. I remember quite liking it. Chris Hemsworth is quite cool.
The cast is brilliant. You've got Chris Hemsworth, you've got John Hamm, Dakota Johnson, Cynthia Erivo, and Jeff Bridges are in this. So
Jeff Bridges is the and credit, isn't it? I thought it was Bradley Whitford for some reason.
No. It's it's a really good cast. It's a really fun, different type of movie, and I definitely recommend it, and perfect for a Wednesday night. Let's move on to Thursday, though. Oh, can't wait for this. I watch it every few years. I love it. It brings me right back to my teenage years. Any people that don't feel like they fit in really, really resonate with this movie, and always have done. It's on 5-star at 11:05 at night, which is too late for this, but it is the witching hour. Of course, it's The Craft.
Sarah, looking for someone? No. Some of these football make their girlfriends come and watch them practice as if it's interesting.
Yeah, like a girlfriend over there. Chris Hooker.
I don't even know him. Nancy's sorry about what happened in biology. And she's mean to everybody, so don't take it personally.
You're Nancy.
She's Nancy, I'm Bonnie, and that's Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Yeah, we know who you are.
Do you want to go for coffee?
No, I can't. I gotta get home. My dad's waiting for me.
You can make something up.
I mean, I miss Fairuza Balk in movies, but I will say, if you ever need a demonstration very practically as to how influential The Craft was, consider the fact that the theme song to Charmed is literally playing in the background of that clip, which always makes me giggle every time we use it. Hugely influential. It's one of those films that if you've never seen it, you'll watch this movie. It's only 25 years old, and you will see where so much contemporary pop culture of the last 2.5 decades has quite clearly drawn inspiration from things like Buffy, Twilight, things like that, all trace back to The Craft. Absolutely worth checking out. And of course, now there is a sort of a sequel to it in the form of Craft Legacy, which we reviewed about 6-7 months ago.
And we didn't think it was too bad. We didn't think it was too bad.
No, it was perfectly fine. It had some cacophony in it. I'm not going to complain at that. But keeping showing my 90s creds right there. But let's move it on to, another relic of the 90s, but he's still looking the same age he did then. It is, of course, the one and only Mr. Paul Rudd's going to take us out on Friday Night Becks. Why don't you tell us which suit he's slipping into this time?
Of course, he's slipping in on BBC One at 8:10 into his Ant-Man suit. And this is one of the Marvel movies that I really, really loved. I thought it was hilarious from start to finish. And I know that its reception wasn't... I mean, you're the Marvel expert here, you tell me. But I don't think it sits up there as high as a lot of other Marvel standalone movies. But I love it.
I think it's one of the most fun ones, hands down. It's a lot of fun, Ant-Man. It is, and it came out just after Age of Ultron, and it did exactly what it needed to do, which was, do you know what? We are the fun, breezy heist movie with Paul Rudd. That's what we are. And it does a very, very good job of that, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you for the coffee, ma'am. It's not too often that you rob a place and they get welcome back. Because we just robbed you.
You know that he was arrested for stealing a smoothie machine, right?
2 smoothie machines.
Are you sure they can handle this?
Oh, we can handle it. We're professionals.
You'll forgive us if we're not instilled with confidence.
Well, hey, everybody, just kick back and relax a little bit, man. We know our business. We broke into this spooky-ass house, didn't we?
I let you.
Well, one could say that I let you let me.
Look, it's okay. They can handle this.
Yeah, we can handle it.
You got their credentials?
He's in the system.
I'm in the system. You're in the system. The system?
Yeah, we're doomed.
Oh, Michael Pena as the sidekick is just phenomenal.
Luis, man, he's the best.
And it's got the best train crash sequence I've seen in a long time, is all I'm going to say. So that is Ant-Man. That's on your screens to make up your Friday night. Well worth your time, as ever. This has been your movies on TV. When we come back, we'll be looking at DVD, Blu-rays, and, of course, streaming. Welcome back to Off Screen. We hope you've enjoyed sitting on your couch or even sitting in the cinema watching some of our big releases that are coming out this week, and obviously what we've covered in the past as well. But now we're on to one of our favourite segments, which is about your DVDs, your Blu-rays, and of course your streaming. Because yes, DVD and Blu-ray does still exist, believe it or not. And we're kicking off that section with Batman The Long Halloween Part 1. That's quite a title.
Well, this is part of the sort of current iteration of these DC animated feature films. The past few years, we've had this sort of new 52-inspired generation of these, where they've rebooted the Justice League and characters like that. And Jason O'Mara, who's something of a Marvel alum for having been Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., appeared in the US version of Life on Mars, and is actually a friend of a friend's brother, would you believe, as well. And he's Batman now. And this is using him for an adaptation of the sort of seminal classic Long Halloween, which, of course, is one of those that, like I said about The Craft, where you can go back and you can see all the things that this has inspired. Same thing with Long Halloween, and you see it with films like Batman Begins in particular, because Nolan drew a lot from that as well. And this trend now of taking these big mammoth stories and breaking up into 2 movies. We saw that with The Killing Joke a couple of years ago. Not The Killing Joke. Dark Knight Returns. Sorry, we saw that with, and Batman Year One as well. This now, I think, is the 3rd one of these. They've all been relatively good so far. They are all decidedly usually PG-13. They're very hard PG-13 at times. They're not afraid of gore. As I say, I've not seen this particular one yet. I likely will not watch it until the sort of sequel, until the second part is around.
Do a big binge.
Yeah, I think I prefer to just take it all in one go, because this is not like, Kill Bill, where they have different styles and tones and nothing. It's just literally one big movie that they've locked into. But I do enjoy these animated Batman ones. They're not my classic DC AU era. They're not the Bruce Timm stuff from the 90s, which is, that for me is the pinnacle of superhero animation. And I know I'm not alone. I think a lot of people will agree that is the high watermark of superhero animation. Post Fleischer anyway, but we shall see. It's out on DVD, Blu-ray. I believe it's already out on digital, so you can already pick this up, I think, if you want to buy it on digital. But DVD and Blu-ray from this coming Monday, which is, when is Monday this week? It's not the 18th, it's the 21st, isn't it, this week?
Gosh, the year is running away with us.
It's dissolving this year.
I know. Let's move on to streaming. Now, we've already talked about these two, but just to give you guys a highlight, on Netflix as of this Friday. Today. I was about to say next Friday because that's not what we normally do, is look forward, but we're actually looking to the present. Both Fatherhood is on Netflix, which we've already reviewed earlier in the show. Stream back if you haven't listened to it and you fast forwarded to this bit, go back. And also Luca on Disney Plus premium access as well.
I'm not sure about that, actually. I think it might just be on regular access, Luca. I think there was some controversy. I think there was some controversy around that.
Yeah, I always think if you're prepared to pay and then it's free, bonus, why not?
Exactly. Who's going to argue?
Exactly. But more excitingly, we are getting on Amazon Prime from Monday, Reality Bites. I mean,
I love it.
What a
I love Reality Bites so much.
Right. I'm going to rewatch this again. I can't wait.
I had to. I was talking to my good lady about this earlier, and I was trying to sum it up as that's what we need. That's what we need. Hanging out in Brooklyn lofts in flannel shirts with Doc Martens, drinking overpriced coffee whilst Lisa Loeb plays. I love this movie, but let's be honest. This is very much that movie I just described right there.
So this was made in 1994. So it's movies like this, series like Felicity and stuff like that, which you kind of go, as a kid, I remember going, I'm gonna move to the States and I'm gonna
adulthood is so cool, man. I can't wait to be 22.
Yeah, exactly. And then reality actually bites and you kind of go, yeah, it's not quite like that.
Because this one, the thing I found about watching the trailer back for this earlier is because I've not seen the film in its entirety for a good few years now. And the thing I found with it is it's held up, like you watch that trailer now and it still seems, although there's obviously going to be there's a dated quality in the way it looks, but in actuality, the dynamics and the worries that they have do seem to be relatively timeless. It is that post-college, retain your sense of self versus selling out idea. And of course, it is about that love triangle between, every girl, Manic Pixie Dream Girl, Winona Ryder type, who I was 11 when this came out, and I was so in love with Winona Ryder.
Oh my God, I totally wanted to be her. Like, it's that, it's Beetlejuice, it's, there's so much that Winona Ryder has done that you kind of go, I'm fangirling over Winona Ryder.
But this is the love triangle between the guy who represents who she is, which is, Ethan Hawke, who's sort of the slacker type, peak hotness Ethan Hawke. Let's point that out. This is Ethan Hawke at the pinnacle of hunky Hawkeness here. He's the sort of sense of self. And then you've got the future aspiration, which is Ben Stiller, who, by the way, wrote and directed this. Don't forget there was a time pre-comedy when Ben Stiller was a very edgy writer-director. Wrote and directed The Cable Guy 2 years after this as well. First movie Jim Carrey ever got 20 million for, back when that actually was a real achievement. And he, of course, turns up on screen as well as a sort of Rob Lowe-esque, sleazy corporate type. And it's just a really great movie. I might just whack this on again tonight. I really love Reality Bites. And of course, it is the genesis point from which we have one of the all-time classic tracks, Stay, I Miss You by Lisa Loeb. Is it Nine Tails?
You say.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone knows that song. If people don't know what it's called, they know it from literally that doodle bit at the beginning of the song. That brief first few chords. Everybody knows that song. It's just one of those things.
It's one of the reasons why I bought glasses that I didn't need, just to have the cool frames. You still wear them.
Exactly. Still wear my Clark Kents today. And Lisa Loeb in this movie is a contributing factor to my enduring predilection for dark-haired creative types in spectacles. That's where it is. But also on streaming this next week, also on Amazon Prime as well. And this is coming next Friday. This is not a huge release, but I think it is worth just mentioning. And we got a clip for it, so hell, why not chuck it in? And let's talk about Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, which is coming to Amazon Prime next week. This was the first movie I ever did a press junket for, would you believe, in 2014.
Wow.
It's written and directed by Kenneth Branagh, who also plays the villain in it, and it is his attempt to reboot Jack Ryan as a would-be cinematic universe launcher, starring Chris Pine as Jack Ryan. I think he takes over from Ben Affleck in this one. You've got Keira Knightley as Kathy. I forget what her surname is, but she's going to be Kathy Ryan down the line, as we well know. And you've got Kevin Costner playing the Admiral Greer role, the sort of mentor figure. And this is Jack Ryan going to Russia on his first assignment to help take down an arms dealer played by Sir Ken. And of course, wouldn't you know it, Keira Knightley's only gone and invited herself on this trip with him.
You're not involving her in this.
You involved me in this by not telling me.
You gotta get her out of here. Send her home.
Well, what are you gonna tell Sheriffin that I'm home?
These are dangerous people, Kathy. You cannot be here.
If you told me who you really were,
I took an oath. I took an oath. I couldn't tell you unless we were married, and you wouldn't marry me.
That's why you wanted to marry me? So that you could
No,
tell somebody you
come
were
on,
in the
of course
CIA?
not.
You
I'm-
lied to me for 3 years, and you were good at it. I think you actually enjoyed it.
Can we have a minute, please?
No, you can't.
I would like to talk to Jack
This is
Lowe, please.
geopolitics. It's not couples therapy. Do I really have to remind you what's at stake here, Jack? There's a very real scenario here where we don't get out of this alive. Any of us.
I wonder if Keira Knightley watches this performance back, with her red lipstick on the trampoline and her Chanel gear that she has to do to make herself happy during a pandemic. Anyway, this is...
You're
looking at me
that was deeply personal, Max. Like, that came out of nowhere. I was like, what, does Keira owe you money? Is that what's going on?
No, she just made a very misguided comment that has
I see.
on social media.
When do these actors not do that? That's just imagine people. Shut up, gal.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just think sometimes, guys, you've got a public platform. Just know when to say the right thing and when not to. And that was very much not the right thing to say. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this movie. I enjoyed it. I don't think it went anywhere after this, did it?
It didn't. This was meant to spawn what would become the Michael B. Jordan Without Remorse. That didn't happen. It then got rebooted as a TV show that was then also meant to spawn Without Remorse. That didn't happen and then did. And now Without Remorse is meant to spawn Rainbow Six, but that might happen, but it might not. And in the meanwhile, I think season 3 of Jack Ryan is filming at this moment in time. But this way, as far as I understand it, all of the Jack Ryan stuff is now on Amazon Prime. I've not checked on the original 4 films, the Hunt for Red October with Alec Baldwin, Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger with Harrison Ford, and Some of All Fears with Ben Affleck. Now everything post that I know is now on Amazon Prime. Pre that possibly as well, but they are all Paramount. The rights have never changed hands, so there's every reason it might be. I think if you want solid action thrillers, which is what they all are all solid, then look no further. They are pretty good. Definitely, if you need someone to keep your dad stum for a couple of hours, then you can do a lot worse than a Tom Clancy written Jack Ryan story at the very least. But I like this movie. I think this is fun. And also, it's got Ken Branagh hamming it up. Of
course.
The cheesiest Russian
Who doesn't
accent.
love Ken Branagh? Well, there we go. That is all of your choices for this week. We always like to leave you with a selection for everyone, but also a selection for every type of viewing that you enjoy. So you can go to the cinema, you can stay on your couch, you can even stream stuff or pop something into your DVD and Blu-ray player. So we hope you've enjoyed this week's Offscreen. We've certainly enjoyed bringing all of these choices over to you, and we'll be back again next week with more fun at the flicks. So for now, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.